One. We are live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Harvey here, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, with my co-host, beautiful friend, billionaire sister, Julia Patterson from Calgary, Alberta. We're going to change things up a little bit. We had an unfortunate rescheduling. Somebody's mom is sick. We send our prayers. He's going to reschedule as our guest, and that's cool. We understand things happen for a reason. I just want to share with you, we want to share with you today in today's episode of Success with Dynamic Duo about time management and commitment management. What that means to you, what that means to us, how that can change your life, how that can change your perspective, how everything in your life could totally come to a halt if things happen in your life. And that's why these two things are so critical. Julia, you want to share a little bit today, and then we'll get right into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about.
Thanks, Sean. Welcome, everyone. So glad to be here and so glad you could join us. I think the most important thing I see with, it's unfortunate that our guest wasn't able to be with us today, and my heart goes out to him and his family as well. But the beauty of working for yourself is that you can choose to take the time to be with your loved ones when there is an illness. And I am so glad that our guest was able to do that, because it's so important, because we never know how much time we have left. So I'm so grateful that he's able to do that. And like Sean said, our thoughts and prayers are going out to him. I think that the topic we have today is very, very important, because most of us understand about time management. Those are the buzzwords. Those are the ones we hear all the time. But I heard the other day, actually I was at my business networking meeting, and they do an educational portion every day, or every time we're there, every 2 weeks. And they talked about commitment management. And there is a big difference if you think about it. Sean, you and I both know about time management. I mean, we've both been in financial services, and we booked appointments when we were going to see clients and things like that. And then we kind of fit everything around it, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about a commitment management, though, it's a bit different, because yes, okay, you've got those things that hey, Nivea, how you doing? So you've got those things that you want to do every day. You have to do, whether it's, go to your job from 9 to 5 or whatever it is, take the kids to their sports, this, that, and the other thing. But what if you decide that some of those things are priorities? You make a commitment to spending time with your spouse, for example, going on a date night. If it's a date night and you've made a commitment to do that, do you really want to uncommit? Because what happens to your relationship if you do that all the time? So there's a lot of things that if we look at it in a different way, rather than managing our time, we're managing our commitments. It makes a huge difference, because it puts more emphasis and priority on those things that are important to us. Does that make sense, Sean?
Absolutely. You construct your day based on your priorities. Mm-hmm. So going to the job, you know that you have to be at work at 8 o'clock, if that's what your start time is, and you end at 4 o'clock. There's nothing going on in your head going, I'm only going to show up late. You know that it's a commitment. You got to be there. You're expected to be there at least 15 minutes before your shift, so you can prepare, so you can punch in at 5 minutes to 8. I was a manager at McDonald's, and time is of essence. You know that the rush starts. There's a reason why we start people at certain times in our scheduling, so that we can be prepared for those mad, crazy rushes. This is no different. But the difference is, when do you rearrange your commitments in your day? That's probably the most important key, because if you're off at 4 o'clock and you have to pick up the kids at 5 o'clock from the daycare because you have jobs, mom and dad both, what do? No, I'm not going to show up. My kids can wait until I get there. No, you make sure that those schedule is set up so that you can be there.
Absolutely. And the other thing too, as you were talking, Sean, I was thinking about the priorities. If you're in business for yourself, you can have time commitments, things you have to do, okay? But do you look at it from a priority of the things that you're doing every day, is it income generating? Now, if you have to pay the bills yourself, if you're in the hot seat, you're the one that's got to generate that income to pay those bills, then your top priority every day outside of your family, those things you have to do for your family, is generating income. So too many of us look at the things, this big plate of stuff we want to do every day, and we don't put the income generating things at the top. Does that make sense? So you're looking at a priority, and that's a priority. That is something that you need to get done every single day, even if it's one. And I've been guilty of it myself, where I go, okay, this will only take a couple minutes, I'll do that. But if we block off periods of time, you're laughing, block off periods of time to do those income generating things, we're not going to have to worry about our business failing, because we're focusing on it. And even if we spend 50 minutes and then take a 10-minute break, or 30 minutes and take a 10-minute break, whatever it is, because everyone's different for their focus and time frames. But, make sure that is a top priority, because now you're managing your commitment to yourself and your family by doing what you need to do as a business owner.
Yeah. And I think that those should be turned into musts. To complement what Julia just said, we know that we have work to do. We know that life's going to throw us a curveball. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So I'll give you an example. When you're at work and your little guy or your little girl is at school on the playground, and they're grade, 2 to 4, 2 to 8, 2 to 12, whatever the number is, things are going to happen that are going to distract you, and you're going to have to say, you know what, Julia, I got a phone call come in. I got to have to take this. I got to go. It's going to happen. You got to get yourself into that position, and that's why you have to have instruments in place for time management and commitment management. I can't even talk today. Commitment management, so that you can adjust what you need to adjust. And I'm just as guilty as Julia just said. There's things that you want to take 35 minutes, and oh crap, 2.5 hours later, you're still not back to the task that you started, and you're going, oh crap, the day's gone. It's now 4:30 in the afternoon. You were supposed to have this, and it's all crazy now, and you're like, oh man, I feel like such a douchebag. I've done it many times, not purposely. This is why we need to have instruments in place to take care of those things for us, because we all have the same 86,400 seconds in a day. How are we utilizing them to get done in our lives what we need to get done? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. The other thing I really wanted to talk about today is keeping our commitments. And it fits right in with this, because we're talking about time or commitment management versus time management. When someone commits to you, they're going to do something, and then they don't do it, how do you feel? Do you feel let down? Is your trust in them gone, or is it lessened? Do you feel now that they have honesty and integrity? Now, one thing I learned back quite a number of years ago, and sometimes, I think we've all done it, where we say yes because we don't want to hurt that person's feelings, right? So then we go, oh man, how am I going to get that done? Because, I've made a commitment to that other person. But sometimes we say yes with the full intention of doing it because we want to do it. So the first thing I'm going to challenge you is to say, do I really want to / need to do this? Does it fit in with my priorities? Because we're talking about commitment management here, right? So does it fit with my priorities? Does it fit with everything else I need to do in my life? Can I give that person my full attention and do it with love and kindness and caring because I want to? Okay. Sometimes we make those commitments, and then we find that things happen and other priorities have to come into play. Like Sean was saying about, child getting sick or whatever, or this gentleman, his mom getting sick, right? Sometimes we have to stop. We can't do those commitments. The best thing to do, and I found it works really well, is to formally uncommit to that person that you've made a commitment to. So don't leave it and just let it kind of slide. Contact them and say, look, I know I promised to, whatever it is, and I am sorry, but I must formally uncommit. Don't feel like you need to make an excuse when you have to formally uncommit. I'm sorry, I just cannot do that, and I cannot do that now. But make sure you don't leave it to the last minute, because then you're still losing your honesty and integrity with that person, and you're hurting that relationship. Does that make sense, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. To complement what you just said, I'm gonna go on this force of, a lot of people think we have two responsibilities as individuals. First responsibility is I have to show you a system that works, and two, prove to you that it works. That's my commitment to that person. Mm-hmm. It's not my responsibility to help them open up the book and go through the course material per se. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of make sense? So I just want to be clear on this. But I've made some commitments to certain people, and they expect you to do everything for them and stop your life and do it. No, I want to make sure that we're clear on this, guys, that as leaders, we're to lead you to a system that you can get all the answers that you need, Google and YouTube, with the system that you have, and then guide you with the team on where you need to go. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that would be watching this that would assume that their sponsor is responsible for their success. No. The only person that is responsible for your success in anything that you do is you. And when it comes to the commitment of time and time management, it's my responsibility on how I plan my day. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes perfect sense.
So it's not that we're going to throw you to the wolves in any avenue, but we want to make sure that we're clear that if it's to be, it's up to me. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
And I know that there's a lot of people, and this is one of the biggest reasons why the industry that we're in gets a bad name, is because, this person didn't do this for me, and that person didn't do that for me, and all this other craziness. But realistically, if I have a full-time job and I used to work 70 to 90 hours a week driving a transport truck, how much time could I commit for the time management part of the business that I enrolled in to get out of my full-time job? And back then it was very little. So granted, I wasn't going to get the results that I should have gotten because of that time commitment and time management. Does that make sense? So based on that scenario, we have to, and we talked about this, Julia, it's not spare time, it's part-time. And what are your commitments to that business? And if you say to your whoever it is, sponsor, whatever, it doesn't matter, I can commit 20 hours a week to this business, then you better commit 20 hours a week to this business. Because you're going to have, t-ball, you're going to have baseball, you're going to have hockey, you're going to have lacrosse, you're going to have swimming lessons, all this craziness that kids have. If your commitment is not to those things, that job is going to be there for a long time. And we commit to our families, but we also have to commit to our businesses and our lives so we can have a better life for our businesses. So it all works together as a moving part. It's like the engine and the oil and the gas and the brakes. It all works together as a unit to get through your life, because let's be real. Lots of people have families. Lots of people have kids. Lots of people have extracurricular activities. If you're not committed to your family and you're committed to your job, well, you're going to come home to an empty house because the family's going to be gone. Just like marriage, it's a commitment. It's not a task. It's a life commitment, so that you can be committed to that person and spend the rest of your life with that person. This is no different. It just all works together. Does that kind of make sense?
It does, for sure. And what I hear when you're saying about committing to 20 hours a week for a business, it's okay to change that if you need. And it's formally uncommitted. You realize that being responsible for yourself and committing to your business and all the other commitments you have in your life, if you need to scale back your business hours to, let's say, 15 hours a week, then if you've got a sponsor, an upline, whatever it is for you, then you let them know, I can no longer commit to that 20 hours a week, but instead, this is what I'm going to do. But understand there is feedback. Stephen's right. Can you hear the feedback, Sean?
Nope.
No? I can hear it. Anyway, so basically, be real with your sponsor. Make sure they understand where you are. And if they need to help you, or you need to make some changes in how you're doing what you're doing so that you can get results, but expect that you're probably not going to get the same results if you've got 5 hours less per week. So it's an extra hour a day that you're no longer putting into business. So we all need to be realistic with our time commitments, committing and making our commitments to whatever it is as a priority in our lives. Oh, somebody else has got here some feedback too.
So we gotta be real with ourselves, and we gotta say, okay, we understand that we have all of this craziness going on in our lives. Mm-hmm. How much of and this is why we say it's got to be at least a part-time commitment, not a spare time, because spare time will be casual results, resulting in a casualty. Does that make sense? We got to give something to get something. And the more you give, the more you will get. We understand that business, life, all of that stuff happens. I'm going to give you the example. I did a live on it the other day. If I would not have been in the position that I was a few days back, my best friend's dad passed away on Monday. 95 years old. He just got out of the hospital. It's a devastating loss for us. I just want to say this. It's not a matter of if. It's a matter of when. And are you going to be in the position that you need to be in to be where you need to be at that most critical time? Don't be selfish, and don't tell or not talk to those people in your life that you care about the most. Don't work your life away for somebody else so that you get that phone call when you're miles and miles and miles away that you don't have access to being there for them when they do. It's all about control of your life. It sucks. It breaks my heart to know that he passed away. He's my best friend's dad. He was like a grandfather to me. I wasn't there for my grandfather because I was taken advantage of financially, and I had to borrow money to get back to see my grandfather. But he had already passed. But I had a conversation with him the night before he passed away, a three-way conversation with my son and him on the phone. This is all about commitment and time management, but it's also being in control, I think, is the mother lode of those two pieces. When you're in the driver's seat and you can control both of those things, as well as where you need to be, you're going to be good. And you're not going to live with the regret of not being in the right place at the right time when you need to be there. That is the part of being in total control of your life. And that moves from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You start part-time. You control more of your time with your kids so that you don't, lose part of their life because you've worked away your life. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
And I think that that's such a critical element, guys, that we're sharing with you, that, you know what? It's so important. If you can't be at better word, not can't. If you're at a job that controls your time, you need to invest in instruments to run your business while you're not there. Example, you need to have people in place. Part-time virtual assistant, part-time person to help you build your business. Multiple streams of income is the best way to go to protect yourself, and that's the best part. It's all about being in control, time management, commitment management, doing everything that you need to do so that you can have the most important, precious moments of your life with the most important people in your life. And that's not your job. I'm going to stop my rant.
Really, Sean? Everybody needs money coming in. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And however people choose to make it. But Sean, when you were talking about, being in driver's seat, well, we can all choose to stay in the job, or we can choose to start taking some of that control. And like Sean was saying, spare or part-time versus spare time. We need to start get ourselves back in that driver's seat. And it all starts with setting your priorities, making sure you know what your commitments are, and not overcommitting because your family needs you, your loved ones need you, but you still need to provide that safe, secure environment as far as, your daily necessities, paying the bills, that kind of thing. So, it's all about how you deal with it. And it's so easy to get off track. I mean, Sean and I have already admitted we do it too. We've done it. I mean, I catch myself sometimes. It's like, what am I doing? Just a couple days ago, I started off to do a task, and then 2 hours later, I look and like, holy moly, I haven't even accomplished that. And what did I do in that time frame? So then I went back, I reviewed and went, okay, I can't allow that to happen anymore. Exactly, Julie. Figure out your why. Your why is the most important thing, and everything stems from that. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah, it's, I've been a little selfish the last few weeks myself. I haven't been, excuse me a moment. I forgot to put that aside. Shut that off. I've been selfish just like lots of other people. I haven't been feeling 100% mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I know that I should have done more videos, and I didn't. Part of the reason is I was being selfish. I have to stop being selfish because I know that my voice, our voices, needs to be heard, because I know that there's somebody out there that needs to hear where we're coming from, because we're real people and we want to connect with you and show you that, hey, I've red blood inside me. I pump blood just like you guys do. I wake up every day. It's a blessing to wake up every day because we're not guaranteed to wake up. But we have a message, and we want to share with people that, you know what? Your message is your why. It's your story is the most important thing to you. And don't think for a second that your story doesn't mean anything. Don't sit there in the middle of the night and say, you know what? Who cares if I'm a single dad? I used to be a single dad, and I was engaged to be married, and I'm going through child custody crap and all this craziness. And I used to drive a truck for 90 hours a week, made pretty good money, but I worked a lot, and I put in the time. The money that I made was still only about $20 an hour, and my time was worth more than $20 an hour. So don't think that story is not going to connect with somebody else, because you know what? There's people out there like myself that used to drive truck that are away from their families at the most important time. I know at least 5 of them right now that I can think of that didn't get to spend Easter with their families, didn't get to spend Mother's Day with their families because they were on the road trucking for their family to bring home a paycheck. Does that make sense? So don't think for a second that doesn't mean something. You know, we've all gone through challenges. And we all understand that things happen. I really wish he wouldn't have done that while I'm on live, but that's okay. I still love him. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay.
Maybe it's a good thing.
Right. The scenario. How could you look after others if you can't look after yourself? You got to look after yourself first. Starts from within to come without. Love you, Julie, as well as Julia. So that's the scenario. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you get through it in your life and your business? Who do you connect with? Who do you confide in when you're having challenges that you seem to have troubles getting through? All of those things have every single thing to do with your network. And your network of people will help you create your net worth. And I think that is so critical for the average person, because the average person focuses on the lack of money in their lives, and they just say, you know what? I'm just going to go make more money. I'm just going to make more money. But there's only so much time in a day. We only have so much time here on this planet. We have to collapse time frames, spend more time with our family versus less time with them. And that all comes back full circle to our lives. What's your purpose? What's your why? What's your time commitment, time management, and your commitment level to those things and those people? And I know that there's many people that are going to live with that regret that they weren't able to see their loved one when they passed away because they were too busy with time commitment, working their jobs, never spending any time with the most important people in their lives. And I know we're gonna talk about that, but that's the facts of life. We work to live. We do not live to work. There's a difference.
True. Very true. Sean, something that came to mind when you were talking about making more money, most people, because if we have a job, most people, their boss tells them how much they're worth, right? And so if people want to make more money and they don't expand their vision and their mindset, they can work as many hours at that job as their boss will allow them, and they're still not going to get ahead because they're still the same person. They haven't really realized that they can be worth more than what that boss or that job has said they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And it gives me the goosebumps when I think about that, because you know what? I've been there. I used to work a job. I always had that entrepreneurial streak in me, but I had that job, and I mean, I wasn't allowed to work as many hours as I wanted. But it is very true is that we allow, and we start believing that that's all we're worth. So, I mean, it's really a catch-22. It can really keep you stuck if you don't purposely go and find, expand your network, whether it's mentors, whether it's a coach, whatever it is for you. Reading, making sure that you're working on your mindset so that you can move forward and have the life that you want, that time freedom, that money freedom, whatever it is for you.
Yeah. And, most people, when they talk about, the captain and the crew, which is the conscious and the subconscious, they say, we don't communicate to the world with emotion certainty that we're worthy of financial abundance, success. Why? Because we've been told and programmed as children, to answer Julie's question, we were told, you know what? Go get a good job, pays well, pay off that house as fast as possible, and then start saving for retirement. Well, guess what? If you buy your house when you're in your 20s, it's paid off by the time you're in your 50s. How much time do you have to save for retirement? 10, 12, 15 years maybe?
Not enough time.
Doesn't matter if you put a $2,000 a month mortgage payment away for 15 years, you're still not going to have enough to retire at 65. That's where most people are at. The unfortunate part is 97% of the population is on track to retire never, because of the program that they've been programmed from their parents. Nobody said, hey, get out of your comfort zone. Go and be an entrepreneur, make money, provide for your family so you can have a good life. And most people don't realize that back in the dirty 30s, when the richest people were around, John Paul Getty and many of those others, they were richest men in the 30s. Guess what? 98% of the population back then was an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And it's totally flipped back around. 97%, 97.5% are employees, and 2.5% are entrepreneurs. Totally opposite. If I needed my horseshoes done, I would barter with the neighbor, John, to do my horseshoes for my horse, and I would exchange him for sugar and milk and bread for his family, and we just bartered back and forth. That's how they did things. Nowadays, that's off the wall. Doesn't happen.
I think we need to start looking back to the way it used to be, so that we can take clues to, bring them forward into this, I'm going to say, information age, because I mean, what you're talking about is the industrial age. and bring it back into the information age and back into entrepreneurialism, because that's the way that we're going to control our futures. Because jobs are going away. We see it every day.
Look at McDonald's. You got all those stand-up big posts with a debit machine there. Put your card in, place your order, boom, you go to the window, pick it up.
We're seeing that more and more.
Look at bank tellers. You got one or two bank tellers. You got a few office men. Before, it used to be lined up like McDonald's. McDonald's used to have 15 cash registers. When it got busy, everybody lined up in lines, and they boom, 300-400 people would go through in the lunch hour. Now it's like 2 tills in a little box. You grab your piece of paper, you stand off to the side, and they call you when your order's ready. Takes more time, and as far as I'm concerned, the quality is way lower.
So, Sean, how do we change that mindset? Like, I think the big thing for what I see and the way I've done it is I looked at my life and I didn't like it. And this has started, 25 years ago. Probably about 25 years ago I started that. And I realized that I wanted more in my life. And I realized that I'm worth more than what I had then. Okay?
Yeah.
And I wanted to change myself because I didn't see that I could get what I wanted in my life. Right? So a lot of people are back in that spot. Like, they're just starting this journey. There's lots of people out there that need because success leaves clues. We leave clues behind when we move forward. And so, we got to look at what our friends are making. If we want to make more money, we typically the 5 people closest around us, our income is average of what those 5 people are making a year. So how do we change that? We have to change that by stepping out of that and going and finding people who are making more money, right? Mm-hmm. How else do we do it? We go online, we find motivational videos, inspirational videos, we read, listen to things. There's so many things that we can do. And I know it sounds like, because we've got such busy lives, it's hard to fit it in. So let's talk about, like turning your vehicle into a mobile university.
I love that.
When you're doing things like I do, I'm working at my desk, but you know what? I have things running in the background. Do I actually listen to it? Consciously, no. I might hear the odd snippet, but subconsciously, I'll listen to something a few times, and all of a sudden I'm thinking that way, or it's coming out of my mouth. I'm going, where did that come from? Oh yeah, that was on such and such, right? Mm-hmm. So, there's ways that we can fit it into our busy lives. And so is it a priority for you to want to move forward? And that's the only person that can make that choice is you. Right? Yeah. I made it. Sean's made it. We know tons and tons of people who have made it. How do we do it? Those are some of the little tips for those people who are ultra busy, but you want to move forward. Incorporate some of those little things. Read 15, 20 minutes a day. There's ways to do it. So if your why is big enough, you'll find the how. I agree.
And I learned this a long time ago, that once I had, and I'm a naked soul. If I did not have personal development in my life when I needed it the most, which was back then, and I still have it today, so it's not gone away. I just want to say this: I probably would not be sitting here having this conversation with you and Julia, as I share that. You know what? I probably may have taken my own life. I never thought of that way back when. Maybe, I know this. I have a flashback when I worked at Mullen Trucking years ago in the 90s. So when was that? 92, 93, somewhere in there. I almost ran into the side of a moving train because I was in La La Land. I was off on compensation because I got hurt at a rig move. I was driving the parts truck in Leduc, Alberta, and McDonald's and the corner of the parking lot, I don't remember the street, but it's one of the, when you come off Highway 2, there's a McDonald's right there, and you turn left, you go across a set of tracks, and the right-hand side was Mullen Trucking. So you can imagine from that stop sign to the railway tracks is not very far. I literally turned that corner, had my foot into it. I was in La La Land, and I wasn't drunk or stoned or nothing like that, just in a zone. And a blink of an eye, I had to slam on the brakes just before the gate. And I was like, holy shit, that's a moving train that I almost ran into the side of because I was in La La Land. Yeah. I had shit going on in my life and I thank God because it was a wake up. Whoa. Can you imagine, like, I'm doing like 70 kilometers an hour, which is like what, 45 miles an hour? And I almost hit the side of a freaking moving train.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. I realized the train was there, but I didn't realize the train was there subconsciously, and I almost ran into the side of it. I wouldn't be here today talking about it. There's a reason why we're here. There's a reason why we have a purpose. We need to find out what that purpose is so that we can be who we are meant to be. If you guys are sick and tired of being sick and tired, we got to pluck the weeds out of here. We got to get rid of the stinking thinking. We got to do the checkup from the neck up. What are you depositing into your emotional bank account every single day in your life because the world outside is negative? And consider it like a bank account. You got a direct deposit every 2 weeks. If you don't have a direct deposit coming in there, what's going to end up happening? Because you're going to spend money. This is no different. You keep taking money out of your emotional bank account and you don't put positive things back in, what's going to end up happening? It's going to take you out mentally. That's why it's so critical to what you absorb on a daily basis. So many people, and guys, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but more people care more about frickin' sports and politics than they do about how can I get my family into a better financial position. And they know more about politics than they do their families' lives. There's a disconnect, guys. I understand that there's a lot of sports fanatics in this world. I like sports. If it doesn't serve my bank account or somebody else's or multiple people's, I'm not interested in entertaining it at the moment. And that's where we have to get in our lives is about, hey, guess what? We have things that we love. We have things that we like to do. If it's not serving us right now, put it on hold until you get your stuff looked after and then revert back to it, is all I'm saying. But from the scenario that I had before, if I don't have family time with my wife and kids, and the only time that I would have is Sunday afternoon, when the laundry, the grocery shopping, getting the kids ready for school, and all that other craziness at the house goes on. But guess what, guys? The Super Bowl or the NHL playoffs are happening on Sunday. I think that we can record those things and spend the quality time that we don't get during the week with our families to actually spend quality time with our families. Would you guys agree with that? If your family's number one, treat them like they're number one, not the sport. Have yourself be your kid's hero, not some hockey player or football player. You be your kid's hero and show them that this is critical that you become financially free so that you can spend more time with them and not away from them. That is so critical. That is life-changing. I can't stress that enough. What's your take on that, Julia?
I totally agree with you, but I want to go back to your point about your story about the train.
Okay.
That, for you, was a huge wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How many times, now, most of us see a wake-up call in the form of something like that happening near an accident kind of thing, right? Or a health wake-up call. But what about a financial wake-up call where month after month after month after month, you barely have enough to make your bills? Mm-hmm. That's a wake-up call. People don't see it. A lot of people go, poor me, or I can't make any more money. That's a wake-up call to change something in your life. And what about an emotional wake-up call where you realize that your relationships are going down the hill, like where you're not close to your spouse, you're not close to your children? How many times does it have to happen in your life that you get a financial wake-up call or an emotional wake-up call and you totally ignore it? I've been guilty of it too. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that people need to be aware that those are actually emotional wake-up calls too. Like, we need to be aware of those things that are put in our faces. And I always like to say it's like if we're given a lesson in a relationship, for example, okay, and we don't learn that lesson, it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until it feels like a dang 2x4 to the back of your head. What's it going to take? Is it going to take your kids saying, I'm done with you, I'm not talking to you? I know people that their kids haven't talked to them in 25 years. Mm-hmm. And they tell me they don't know why. I'm sure if they did some soul searching, they could figure it out, right? But is it going to take losing your family? Is it going to take losing your spouse? Is it going to take losing all your important friends? I'm just saying that I can see so many people doing it and look at it as, what am I supposed to do with this? This is happening for a reason. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to learn? So that's my rant on that one.
To complement that, I think a lot of us, and I think most people, need some form of, I don't know, counseling, somebody to talk to, somebody to vent, those kind of things, because we've all went through some traumatic experience in our lives where we should talk to somebody anyways.
Right.
We've all had family members that have passed away. It's life changing. Mm-hmm. It's life. It's the end of life. We're not here we're here for a short term, not a long term. And I think, based on what I've experienced in my life anyways, and you can chime in if you like, Julia, we've all lost somebody, and there's something that's holding us back that we need to seek help for. And it doesn't, and this is why that mentorship thing is so critical. You have a financial mentor, you have an emotional mentor, you have a spiritual mentor, you have a business coach, you have a relationship mentor. All of those things combined make us who we are today.
That's right.
Going forward for the future. So I think everybody should have some form of counseling for some traumatic event that's happened, so that we can take our lives, learn from it, share our story with that person, find out what's both sides, all of those things based on what we can do and how we can make it better going forward, so we can learn from it, move on, and make sure that it never happens again. Would you agree with that?
Totally. You're talking about your network. You're talking about your support network.
And I'm talking about, if you've lost somebody, don't be scared to go and say, hey, I've lost somebody in my life. I don't think I'm at the right level. Yes, I've messed up some relationships, not purposely. We all have, mm-hmm. because your point of view is different from their point of view. And that's why there's always two sides of the story.
There's the one,
right? Very, very critical. There's two sides of the story. And there's always the truth in the middle. Some people don't know and don't understand or can't handle the truth on what was said. They try and get into other people's business when they weren't there, so they don't know. All of this craziness going on. I think that everybody owes it to themselves and their family to reach out to a counselor and have a conversation with them. I think what's the stats now on divorce? 90% of the population gets divorced in the first, or 80% at least, has been through a divorce. Oh, it's crazy. It's worse than cancer. 1 in 3 relationships end in divorce. It's pretty big. So I think, at least for that matter alone, not having a father in my life, and that I had a counselor in my life, as I was blaming myself as a child. Are mom and dad going to get back together? It's my fault. I wasn't listening. I wasn't doing my homework. I wasn't doing my chores. I mean, all this stuff. I think everybody owes it to themselves and their families to get some form of counseling, to break free of the past and move on to the champion of the future that we truly are.
Hey, Sean, do you have a counselor's card in your back pocket?
No, I don't.
I'm just bugging you. I totally agree. We do need to talk about those things that are on our minds and get some help with that. And I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't have to be somebody who's a registered counselor, but everybody does it their own way. But somebody that you can trust and you trust their opinion that, they can give you. Sometimes it's just we need to get it out, because most of the time I think we have the answers ourselves right in here, right? And we can, as long as we can just get past those blockages of, sometimes it's poor me, it's the beliefs and values we had as a kid, we've picked up all these perceptions, beliefs and values, our filters. So, I mean, sometimes it's just getting past that. So, but yeah, whatever works for you is how you have to work through it. But don't let that stuff stop you, because you can get through it.
And we're not perfect. We don't intend to be perfect. But you know what? Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
And as we go through life, we want to lead our families in the right way. We want to lead our kids to say, hey, it's okay to get out of your comfort zone. When you want to get out of your comfort zone, you can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And that would require you getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't handle getting out of their comfort zone. And we've been programmed as a child, I'm shy. I'm not shy. My wife is an introvert. I'm an extrovert. She's shy. She comes from the Philippines. I love her to pieces. How did that happen? Because of her upbringing.
Yeah.
My upbringing was different because of the mentors I had in my life. I just wanted to be somebody because I have a burning desire in my belly to be somebody and have somebody be proud of me and be loved. That's it.
But as you know, Sean, that you're loved no matter what. You just have that desire to have other people show you their love, right? So I mean, it's all based on, naturally your parents love you. I mean, that's okay. I shouldn't say that. That's not always true, unfortunately. But you know what? There's always somebody in your life. But as long as you love you, that's the biggest thing. And we're both believers, and so we both believe that God does love us. I mean, that's not the case for everybody. Doesn't believe that. That's what Sean and I believe. And so when I say we always have somebody to love us, our first being that loves us is God.
Mm-hmm.
So
the other thing too is it's okay to tell people that you love them, whether you're in a relationship with them or not.
Absolutely.
It's okay to love your friends. And I know some people out there watching this have never had their parents actually tell them that they love them. They've never heard their parents ever in 38 years of being on this planet heard their mom tell their dad that they love them. Never. And when they have that scenario, I have a great friend. I'll keep him anonymous. When he hears me tell my son or my wife that I love him, and I love him as a friend, he's a great friend. I love him to pieces. Same with Julia. I love you. You're awesome. You're a blessing in my life. It's like taboo for him, and it's like, is he gay? I know he's married, but is he gay? He can be on both sides. All this craziness going on. It's okay to love your friends. Yeah. It's okay to love your dog. It's okay to love your wife. It's okay to love people that are close to you. It's okay to tell people and give them a hug. I love you. Or you're my friend. You're a blessing in my life. Because it's true. God puts people in your life for certain reasons. I don't believe in coincidences. I never have, and I never will. There's a divine purpose. Thank you. There is. Mm-hmm. Everything happens for a reason. You're going to attract into your life the shit that you want or don't want. That's a reality. Yep. And if you don't believe that, Start reading some books. You'll start believe that. The law of attraction is so critical to what goes on right here. You can speak into existence what you do want or what you don't want based on that scenario. So watch out what you tell yourself.
But it's not even just speaking it, Sean. It's also thinking it. Like an example is somebody who focuses on, well, I want to get my debt paid off. The thing that your psyche is hearing is debt, right? It's not talking about prosperity. It's not talking about abundance. It's not talking about all those good things, those positive things we want. So
it's not like, hey, getting an envelope in the mail going, hey, there's a check. I got to open it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. When you say that to yourself, and I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's so critical, guys. Think of the mailbox being full of checks rather than full of bills. Mm-hmm. We know that there's a cell phone bill that comes in the mail every freaking month on this day. We know that there's a utility bill. Excuse me. We know that there's a car payment. We know that there's electro and gas and groceries and all of this craziness. Rather than think about what you don't got, be grateful for what you do have. Help people provide value for them. And guess what that's going to do for you? Get you a paycheck. And most people have it reversed. They focus on, okay, how much money can I make today? If I go to my job at $12 an hour and I work 8 hours, I'm going to have $96. They don't think, hey, the more value you provide to the world, because we get paid based on perceived value, so the more value in the world, the more return on investment we get and the more money we could make. If your perceived value of yourself is $12 an hour, guess what? That's where it's going to be. You have to think to yourself that my time, 1 hour of my time with Julia is worth at least $2,000 an hour for each of us. That's my perceived value. I don't think to myself, Julia, I know you're a good person. You're highly educated more than I am. I think you're only worth $100 an hour. No. Because I know that she thinks highly of herself. Maybe I might think a little bit higher than she does for her, and that's okay. But I think that my time for 1 hour is worth at least $2,000. What's your perceived value of your time? I know your value. And to get back to that, I know that there's a little guy out there who did a YouTube video who asked his dad, how much per hour do you make at your job, Dad? And he said $20. And guess what the little kid did? He went and he rounded up $20 so he can buy an hour of his dad's time so he can actually spend time with his son. Getting emotionally choked up. We have to be at that. We don't want to be at that position, guys. You got to get in control of your time. You got to commit to the right things. You got to take action. You got to make a decision that I don't want my son to come up to me or my daughter to say, Daddy, how much per hour do you make? And they throw up a $20 bill and say, I want an hour of your time now. I've paid you for your time. You don't want to do that. And that happens more times than not, that will more than likely end up happening. Don't let that be you. Spend time with those people, the loved ones, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, the kids, most importantly, because they grow up so fast.
They do.
And to look back now, if I would turn back the hands of time, I would not have worked as much as I did. My son will be 16 in July. My daughter just turned 14. My 3-year-old son will be 3 in September in Toronto. I need to go see him because he's growing up fast. And he's a smart little whip. I need to make time for him. We talk on Skype every other day. We need to make it happen. Don't let your life fly by with you having regrets. Get those commitment things in place. Do what you need to do. Get done what you need to get done for your life and your business.
Absolutely. I'm out. Manage your time versus manage your commitments versus manage your time. Because when you've got your commitments, you've got your priorities in order, you know what your why is, you know what your purpose is, and you know what? You can do it. It's just a shift. Just a shift.
And guess what? Julia and I believe more in you than you probably believe in you right now at this point in time. And that is okay. As you go and as you grow mentally and emotionally inside, and what you read to yourself or listen in your car will help you understand why we believe in you. Because we all have greatness within us.
Yes.
Be obsessed with your family's life. Don't be average, because we know that you have a greater purpose inside of you to make a difference in your family's life. We love you all. We'll see you on the next live. Have a blessed week. Connect with us on Facebook if you're not already. Let's go and help people make a difference in their lives once and for all. Have a great day, guys.